Hello, this is Telomere, and welcome to another episode of Facebook Fix and Flip. Today we are testing our repair skills on another Facebook buy. Will I make bank? Or will I fold? So let's find out. Now we got some really weird phones here this time around. Aside this one right here, I only know that this is a TCL. I don't really have much more going on it. I don't really know. It does have some significant banana edge. It's missing its volume rocker right there. No, it's not its volume rocker. That's the SIM tray. And it's got something going on in there. I don't know what that is. Next, we got an Alcatel of some kind. I was able to pull the back off. It's the version that actually comes off. And I believe whatever version this is, it's a 2017 model. I'm not sure the full model number, and this one is an iPhone. Now, I honestly don't know what version of an iPhone this is, but my guess that it is probably an iPhone 14 with the powdered looking finish, maybe a Pro model. That's the only guess that I can come to. It is able to turn on, you can see that, which is interesting. I plugged it in earlier just to get some juice into it after I'd done some testing. I've already gone through and tested the TriStar on this, and it's good. And I've also tested with this little guy right here, my little mechanic charge port tester, the charge port on it, and it also came up as fine. So it's just great. So far, I'm all right with this one. I got to go and get that screen off, though, and we got to test it. Now, I don't know what screen actually works with this particular phone. Does the iPhone 14 work with it? How about the iPhone 14 Pro Max? What if that screen? I do have both of those screens on hand. We can test for those. So let's see first if this one turns on. It does. So far, what we do have is an Alcatel that needs a new screen. All right. Is that worth actually repairing? I don't know. Now, the amount that I bought this all for was $230. Now, the only reason why I went for $230 is because of this phone right here being, as it is, probably an iPhone 14 Pro. That's still my guess. And also that it is theoretically unlocked. But after popping out the SIM tray, I didn't find an IMEI number on here. So I do deal with this customer a lot, and he said that if it is locked, with an iCloud account, he can get the account removed. So we should be okay with that. All right, so what do we got here? So I've put in my Wi-Fi details for this phone. I just want to see whether or not this phone is locked to a Google account. Does it have FRP enabled? If it does, it's going to be quite problematic to get fixed. I might just put it into the box until I am able to. So because some of these verify your account. Yep, it's got an old Gmail account on it, unfortunately. There's definitely a way to get it off, but it can be a little bit of a pain to do so. With this older model, it's probably Android 9, is my guess. So I'm going to put that to the side. Very likely there's not much I can do with it. It might be just a straight up loss. Now what about this one? Well, we can guarantee the screen is definitely just toast. But we can also test whether or not it's got any power. I'm going to start off first, just give what I really like to do with these kinds of, so I want to make sure that the port is not killed, not broken or mashed or whatever. It looks like it's okay. Next, I'm going to test that charge port. Usually you're looking for 8 pins to show. We have more than 8 pins. Very good. Final test is to see whether or not it takes a charge and how much amperage it's pulling, if it does take a charge. It does take a charge. It's at around 400 milliamps right there. Absolutely nothing on display though. There's just nothing showing. So I'm going to let this charge up for a little while, get some juice into it, and then I'm going to try turning the phone on. Now keep in mind with these kinds of phones, with all Androids, I haven't seen one that has it otherwise, but they always have the motherboard up here, and then they have a charge daughter board down here. and that's how they've always got them set up. On the rare occasion they have it set where there's the motherboard up here, and then they've got a little bit of a board that's right across here, all connected as one piece, and then down here as well, which can be very annoying. Now for this iPhone question mark. Let's get the Planolope screws out and let's see what it looks like on the inside. First I'm going to just clean those screws out. If it got some dirt into it, sometimes the screws can end up stripping. So it helps to clean out any of the dirt that's in there. While I'm just letting my heat pad get up to temperature, I noticed that this turned on. It's hard to see, but you see that? That's quite encouraging. Now the problem with this being a TCL model phone, this might be difficult to repair because it very likely has an account on it as well, and it brings into question about whether or not it's worth repairing. But come to think of it, that may not actually be truly on. I need to hold the power button in and let it completely power cycle on. I just felt the phone vibrate. It's an indicator that it's gone into its secondary mode for turning on the phone. It's definitely working. It's sensing my fingerprint. So I'm going to put this to the side, really get a little bit more juice into it. The heat mat's up to temperature as well, and start testing that iPhone 14. Alright, good enough. Now to get into these kinds of phones, I previously would always recommend going here, pushing the blade down, and then dribbling some alcohol in. I've learned something else, is that there is a ribbon cable right across here for the screen, and there's a high possibility you could damage the screen if you are not careful. The screen's already damaged, so it doesn't really matter, but I want to show you what I have learned to do. You put the blade down there, dribble some alcohol on it, and then you peel it up slowly as you go. More alcohol as it begins to lift. There we go. Pick in, and you just draw down the sides first. Cutting through that really solid glue. There we go. Nice. This side's going to be a little bit more difficult just because the frame is busted in this spot. Let's see if I can get it to unclip. It's definitely not wanting to cooperate. No, I wouldn't usually be doing this if the screen was fine. The method that I'm using right now is very destructive to the screen, but the screen is already very destructed. Now, if I'm correct, the cables should be on this side, not on this side, with the newer ones like iPhone 12 and up. So, am I right? Yes, I am. A16. It says it is model A2866. Let's see what it says on my computer, what that is. That is definitely an iPhone 14 Pro. We've got quite the incentive to get this up and running. Is this like all one plate? I've never seen that before. I have never seen that before. All one plate. Let's get the screen off. I'm going to leave this one in place. Sometimes the amp draw does weird things. Disconnect the battery first is what I should have done, but I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't. And I'm going to try, even though I'm pretty darn sure the iPhone 14 screen does not work. But let's give it a go. Okay, that officially is telling me that the iPhone 14 screen is not compatible at all with the 14 Pro, because the connector is just slightly larger on the 14 than the 14 Pro. Gonna try the 14 Pro Max next. It fitted. Oh, it fitted. Nope. That is not working. That's unfortunate. So I got to order a part for it to do any further testing. It did turn on. It just was it refused to communicate with the screen. So I've ordered a screen in for this, and I have looked into the price of the parts for it, and I think we're in for a win. I did manage to plug it into the computer, get it turned on, and get it wiped, and it showed as being unlocked. It did not have an iCloud account on it. So that is good news. That makes life a lot less complicated for me. But let's get a functioning screen into this. And we're going to see what this thing looks like. Power in. Panel's plugged in. Let's turn it on. Let's see what we got. Very good. I'm really not expecting any problems. Now, I have already looked up the price of the parts for this, and I think in total it's going to be about $200 of parts. That's not bad at all, considering this phone sells currently for around $800, maybe $850, somewhere between $750 and $850. So that's great. All right, we're in. Let's take a look and see what we got here. Battery health, 91%. Nice. How about what we got for storage size? 128. I'm good with that. No SIM restrictions. This is good and healthy. Now, this is a Canadian model, which means there is a SIM tray for it, which means that when I buy a new frame, and it needs a new frame, when I buy a new frame for it, it needs to be one that has a SIM tray. And now at this point in time, I need to put in an order for this, so I'm going to put this to the side, and we're going to begin looking at this next. Now, I do know that it turns on, but what I don't know is what model of TCL it is. So if I take the back off, a lot of times they have the info printed on the ribbon cable that goes from the charge port to the motherboard, or they might have it on the battery or something like that. Since we don't have a SIM tray to work with and no screen, we're in no IMEI number, we really do need to take a look inside to figure out what else is going on. In the meantime, let's get this turned off. I'm just going to stuff it into a storage container until I'm ready for it. No idea what model of TCL this is. I'm constantly touching the power button right there, and it's just buzzing like crazy. But I can tell right away that this doesn't have a standard back. I'm positive, in fact, that the only way to get into this is to get this off of here. That is the case for a lot of these lower-end, or I'd almost call them no-name brand phones. That is the case for a lot of these lower quality phones, is the back case usually comes off, clips off. I'm starting to wonder if maybe this is actually a frame, and I'm just not sure, because I do see clips here, but there's a possibility those clips might be broken. So I'm going to try heating this up. I've been just playing around with it for a bit too long. Let's heat this up and just see what happens. Huh. Alright. Maybe this is actually a frame that needs to be unscrewed. Now, any of the tools that I'm using in this video, if you're needing them for yourself, I do have Amazon affiliate links in the video description that can link you directly to the tools and some of the supplies that I use in my videos. Look at that. I see screws. I see screws. There. Okay. Just normal Phillips. There we go. This should easily pop up now. Man, even after the screws are out, it's still a little bit on the difficult side. It looks like they've got a fingerprint reader that I'm going to have to remove before I completely take this off. What an annoying method of going about this. Kind of similar to, what do you call it? I was going to say very similar, that's a method that's used as Motorola. But no, they allowed me to take the camera lens off first. Okay, I'm going to disconnect the battery. And let's see if we can find any information on this. I see a serial number, but is that the serial number for the phone or the serial number for the battery? I'm not really sure. How about on here? It says Miami 3 A1 2130. I'm going to look up that information right now. I searched all over to try to figure out what model it was, and I'm pretty sure that I've got it. That the model that I grabbed is correct. They cover a few different models, so let's just hope that it's correct. It was really hard to determine what model it was. Just the screen. I forgot that I only ordered just the screen. It's not a big deal because this is a plastic frame. it is a plastic frame, so I can get that sorted. With the screws out of the way, we can just look and see where exactly is our screen coming in from. So this right here, that's our main that's connecting to the charge control board. And I can see, if we're looking at this, and you're just comparing it, oh, that's metal. We'll see if I can fix this. I'm pretty sure this is for the screen. If you look at the size and comparison, it does look very familiar. So I'm going to disconnect this. There we go. Just get it out of the way. Will this work? Yeah, that worked. As you can see, it does kind of line up. It doesn't just kind of, it lines up perfectly. How about that? Okay, well, we're in good shape so far. We got to be delicate with this. The ribbon cable there, it's pretty straight up exposed. I'm gonna have to be gentle. I'm gonna fold it down like that, and now I got to connect up that battery. This is gonna be pretty wonky. It's gonna be sideways and upside down. Let's just see what I can do. I'm gonna put a plastic card down here just to protect the circuitry. I don't know if it's necessary, but just in case. There. Now then, we got to figure out how we're going to go about turning this phone on. Yeah, the power button's down here, just on the left side of the phone down below. So let's press it on in and see what happens. Might be out of battery too. Oh no, it's powering on. It's powering on. Okay, let's take off this protective adhesive layer. I don't like having to do this, but I mean, I don't have much of a choice. I like to leave it on until the very end of the repair. Now this phone is not worth a whole lot, so I'm going to try to get around the fact that the frame here is bent. I'm going to see if I can fix it. There is an account that's pre-existing on this phone, it looks like, from the customer I got. Obviously, you couldn't get the account off because, I mean, the screen wouldn't turn on. So I'm going to have to get that figured, but clearly it is working. I'm really happy to see that. So I'm gonna see whether or not I can do anything about that account. Okay, so in its current form, it's too difficult for me to actually do anything about the existing account. I mean, I could ask the customer. I can't remember which person I got this from now. It's been enough time. Enough time has passed that I'm trying to remember, but I can't. Let's get the screen out. Now this should be relatively easy, I think. But I am going to put on some safety glasses because I have a feeling that glass is going to fly. I might even put some gloves on. It's going to require me to heat it up a lot. And I have found that either using a razor blade like this little guy up here, this little guy, or if you have a really thin piece of metal, like what I've got here for separating screens from the display, this works very well, in fact. So let's get this heated up. Now I don't need to be overly gentle. There's nothing behind this. From my experience, there's nothing particularly behind this that is sensitive. The only part that is sensitive has already been taken out. As you can see, the motherboard's gone. See how I'm able to just dig right in there really quickly? Got in there very easily. Just lots of alcohol and I go nuts on this. Once I get in here to a certain degree, I don't need to be in there much. You can see it's starting to go in a lot easier. Switch over to a card. The reason why I'm switching over to a card is because I don't want to damage the frame more than it already has been. So I'm going to go in from behind and pull this out, put it to the side, and continue on. Notice that I'm taking the card in from an angle. It really helps when you're trying to get past the glass, and I'm sneaking up behind the glass shards instead of lifting each chunk. Sometimes that's the only way that you can do it though, but in this occasion I'm not worried about damaging anything. So this goes pretty quick. Oh, I went through the screen instead. Oh, whatever. I need to get behind the screen. Let me behind the screen. There we go. Okay. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but yeah, there we go. I'm gonna put in a whole bunch more heat down here. Let's get this out quick. Now, since these TCL, I think I mentioned this before, but the TCL phones are not worth a lot of money. So for this kind of a repair and for me to actually be able to make any coin off of it, unfortunately, you can only do so much. You've got to rely on your very thin margins for this, which means that I'm going to have to try my best to salvage this frame. Now, I'm sure I can probably get the frame if I absolutely must, But what's most important is you get this in a functioning state that looks decent, and then from there, if it all looks like it's good enough kind of thing, you can describe it as being in fair or good condition. And if that's the state it's in, somebody will buy it. I'm going to have to pick out the rest of this glass. I'm going to throw this over the garbage. There we go. That's it for that. Man, look at the curve of the screen. No screen should ever do that. It looks like it's made of metal. It really does. I'm confused whether or not it's metal or if it's plastic. Here's an easy answer. I think that's aluminum. Alright. I'll see if I can fix this. You can see a little crack right along there. I might be able to flatten it out, maybe with a couple of pieces of acrylic, and put it into... I've got a clamp there I could use to flatten this out. Alright, I'm going to get these glass shards out. I ended up straightening it out with a good old-fashioned hammer. Just a tiny little thing. I don't know if it's perfect. I don't know. I think when I have the screen in even a small amount, it'll be able to tell me right away whether or not this is good enough. So if I can just put it in like this screen will not bend much. So it's a pretty good indicator of whether or not there is still existing problem. And I am seeing a slight problem, I think. It's mostly like right here. This little piece right here is bent. So I need to get that bent back up so that it's not falling down on its own. I think that might be, though, mostly because it's cracked all the way through. This is definitely aluminum. It's aluminum pressed with plastic. It is sitting very flush, though. I'm impressed. That worked out pretty good. So I think this in its current form is good enough for me to test for doing my other work to get it, see if I can get it usable. If I can't get that account off, this phone is not going to be all that valuable to me. Well, as you can see, it's low on battery right now. That's not really an issue at the moment. I have been trying to get this phone unlocked for quite a while. And as far as I can tell, there's no exploits that I can use on it in its current form. So this phone, I might be taking a loss on. Now, it might not be a complete loss, as in I might be able to fix this. I might be able to get it unlocked in the future. But for now, all I can say is I'm going to have to view it as a loss. I'm going to put it back together as best I can, getting everything back into its proper... Oh, there we go. It's starting to boot now. Getting it back all into its proper place, so I don't have to be using up one of my precious containers for phones. But that's about all I can do with this one. I'm ready to move on to the last phone. The last phone being this iPhone 14 Pro, and I have the parts that I need for it. I have right here a replacement housing as well as a replacement screen. Now, for this to be of value, and there's going to be some haters for this to be of value for me to be able to resell, the only way that I can do it is to put an aftermarket screen in, which is, I mean, like, I can't really get a good proper screen for it regardless, but that's about all I can do financially myself at the moment. Somebody out there one day, maybe they'll break their screen again, and then they'll replace it out for a good premium one. But yeah, it's just not feasible for me otherwise, which really sucks when you can't fix it up to its full potential. There's that critter there. My goodness, is that ever smashed? Now, I've never worked on an iPhone 14 Pro before. I've worked on an iPhone 14, I've worked on a 14 Plus, even a 14 Pro Max. Never a Pro. This is new ground for me. Also, I've never taken one fully apart. Like, this is a complete disassembly that we're going to be doing. That right there I'm going to have to remove. That's the earpiece. Also Face ID. It's not in terrible shape. The insides, all considering. The battery's got a slight ripple in it, but that should be okay, I think. Now this point forward, you'll notice that I did include the process of repairing the iPhone 14 Pro. It is a very long, very lengthy process. So what I'm doing is I'm putting into a separate video that's going to be called iPhone 14 Pro Complete Rebuild or something like that. You can find that video right there in the top right corner. Okay, I did some testing just to make sure everything was good. Tested the cameras, both front and back. I also tested the SIM card tray reader, made sure that was working, calls were working, the microphone working, speakers working, made sure that the internet was working, which is great. It is all working. So I can finally fully install the screen. I just need to go and stick down the battery, and I also need to go and put that shield right there. I need to put that back on. Actually, there's two shields that need to go back on. And I also need to go and put in a seal for this. I do have one right here. Despite how rough that phone was, how rough this phone was, like the shape that it was in, it's a good phone. And this is not an aftermarket back. This is actually a pull from a phone that I bought from my parts provider. Okay, that went on pretty smoothly. I don't have official, like, proper adhesive that would usually be used with this type of phone, but what I do have is this M3 stuff that is super tough, and I'm just going to put in like 3 pieces. I'll put some right here, and some right here. As always, when you're putting a battery in where you're putting new adhesive in, where you've put new adhesive in or adhesives on the back of the battery, you want to plug the battery in first, then you can drop the battery in. This just prevents the battery cable from failing to line up properly. You really don't want to deal with that. Just make sure that you disconnect it after you've done that, because you're going to have to install that screen. You don't want to short out anything. Okay, that's all together. You can finally put that screen in place. Nothing is missing. Everything is as it's supposed to be. These are all parts that are not needed. Let's go and push in here like that. Line it up. Same here. Give it a good rub down. So we got that all working. All we got to do now is test those penelope screws in, and we can finally call this job done. So here we've got it. What we have from this particular Facebook fix and flip. The TCL, it's not exactly fixed. I do have this taped up just to hold it together because in the future I do want to work on it, but I'm not sure. So I mean, I could return the screen still because my parts supplier will allow it. This, I can't get it unlocked, and this, I can't get it unlocked. So that's the reason I have not finished working on it. I can't actually remember what person I had bought these off of. I think I remember, but I doubt they remember the password for them regardless. But this is the star of our show. Officially the star of our show. These, I'm going to count them as a loss. Despite the fact that we got them up and running, I'm going to count them as a loss, including the cost of the part for this phone. But this one should make up for it. So let's go over to the Facebook Fix and Flip spreadsheet and take a look at what we got for a breakdown for our expenses and our profits and all that stuff. So I got the names for all of these down now at this point. Alcatel U50, the TCL 20S, 14 Pro, 128 gig, which was great. Now, just breakdown of the expenses. I didn't put anything into the Alcatel, so that's an end result of 30. The TCL, unfortunately, we've got $62 or $66 into there. And here's a big one. It was $183.07 total for the price of the parts. So $383 total for that iPhone. Now, clearly, we didn't have an estimated or an actual sale on either the Alcatel or the TCL, so I'm going to have to leave those as total earnings for those as being a minus on both. So we're looking at minus 30 for that one. We're looking at $66 in the minus for that one. And finally, we're looking at, well, I'll put it here right now. You see it as minus 383. So my estimated sale price was $700.
which is actually what it sold for on eBay. It's just where I sold it instead of Facebook. Unfortunately, because of eBay fees, etc., it didn't sell for, I didn't get anywhere near that. What I ended up with was $538.36. I'm going to take that amount right there, subtract our total expenses, and I got $155.29 as our earnings from that. And what is that total? Like, did we in fact make money on this? I when I was going through the expenses for this, I was not sure. But looking right here, if you look at the tiny little number down here, it shows $59.29 was all that was made off of this whole thing. That is painful. If I can somehow manage to get these two phones up and running, it might help. Even that Alcatel could sell for around $80 to $100 because it does still support 4G and calling, etc. And the TCL 20S, I could sell it probably for around $150 if I could just get that stupid account off of it. That would be a vast improvement. And maybe someday in the future I can update this and that will be in there. Where is our earnings total so far? I'm hoping to reach $5,000, I think is what I said. We're making a slow crawl towards that. I think we can make it though. I almost forgot to review the other things that have happened of late. The A50 did sell. It sold for $160 in total, which is $20 off from what I was hoping for, but still $160 is pretty darn good. The Samsung Galaxy S5 has also, as of yet, not sold. I do anticipate that I will be able to sell it. I have the back cover for it in the mail. The iPhone XR also did sell, and it sold for full price at $260.
So did we make a profit? We definitely did. Still, that really smarts with these two phones here not working, but still, we did make a profit off of that. That's really all there is to this particular video. If you guys liked the video, please do leave a like, and if you want to see more of my stuff, subscribe. We'll see you guys all in another video. Bye.